In the Diddy sex trafficking trial, the former girlfriend of Sean Combs finished up her 6th day on the stand, and it ended with her hugging both prosecuting and defense attorneys. She testified that she felt obligated to perform sex acts with other men to please Combs. Here are highlights from day 22 of the trial.
Can I be heard and make a record?
Okay, proceed.
So, the event that we are talking about in January 2024 took place behind closed doors in a hotel room. But there were many people. There were other people there. Part of the reason that trials are fully public is so if other people realize they know something about an event that's discussed in a public courtroom, they could come forward and they could share whatever their recollection is about it. Now, that typically doesn't happen, but it does happen from time to time. And I think that is kind of the practical side of the constitutional right to a public trial. That it's public for a reason, and the facts are public for a reason, and the names are public for a reason. And that reason is so the public can do what the public does in all issues of importance, which is receive them. And if someone has something to add, that person can come forward and add whatever it is that person has to add. And so the reason the names are important, and the reason the names are important publicly, is in addition to the reasons that we raised for your honor, that I don't want the jury to think that this evidence is somehow different than other evidence in the case. And we've discussed that in the back, and I understand the court's reasons for that. But something that I don't think we made as clear, at least in terms of the most recent application, which I think we had made clear in the past, is part of the public nature of these trials is for the information to reach the public so that other witnesses could come forward, other accounts could come forward. I wanted to discuss this also with the court in the presence of my client because it's an important issue. It's a constitutional issue. And so I didn't want to have all the discussion out of his presence. So I wanted to discuss it with the court here in open court. And thank you for that opportunity.
All right. Understood.
You talked about how in January of 2024, I think you talked about how you went to Las Vegas, right?
Yes.
And basically that entire time in January of 2024, I think you testified Mr. Combs left you alone. He didn't reach out, right?
Yes.
And so you went to Las Vegas with your friend on a very successful rapper's private plane, right?
Yes.
And it was for that rapper's girlfriend's birthday?
Yes.
Okay. And that rapper, fair to say, is a rapper who is very close to Mr. Combs?
Yes.
And fair to say that this is an individual who is at the top of the music industry as well, right?
Yes.
And fair to say they would record together?
Yes.
Okay. And an icon in the music industry?
Yes.
And you said that when you got there, you went to a dinner for this person's wife or girlfriend, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's when you first saw Antoine.
Yes.
Were you surprised to see Antoine?
A little bit, yeah.
Did you know prior that Antoine had a relationship of some sort with this rapper and his girlfriend or wife?
He had briefly mentioned it in the past, yes.
And he would travel with them?
Yes.
Did you know if Mr. Combs knew that?
Yes.
After the dinner, at some point does anybody invite you straight to the hotel room after that? Or at what point did you go to the hotel room?
We landed and went to a play, and then we went to dinner, and then we went to a strip club, and with a hotel invitation.
So you testified on direct examination that you remember walking into the hotel room, and then Antoine was having sex with a woman, and everybody was watching, right?
Yes.
How many people were in the room?
I'd say maybe 7 or 8 people total.
Where was the hotel? What hotel was this?
I want to say it was like the Encore.
Were Antoine and the woman on the bed? Or what area of this room were they in?
Yes, they were on the bed.
And everybody was just watching them? Were they talking? Was there music playing? What was going on?
Just watching.
And you testified on direct examination that there was some flirtatious banter with the rapper, right?
Yes.
Do you remember telling the government in previous interviews that you were also dancing and that you flashed your breasts to the room?
Yes.
But you didn't testify to that on direct examination?
No.
Okay, what did the rapper say to you when you guys were flirting?
I think he said something along the lines of that he thought I was beautiful, and he always wanted to blank me.
Okay, and do you remember when you were in Las Vegas and you were in that hotel room with that rapper and Antoine and the other people who were there, that you also... Do you remember if you brought up Cabrale as well?
Yes. They were asking me if I knew anybody else in the lifestyle, and that they were looking for someone. And so this is why I made an outreach to Cabrale. Because at this time, if I were to recommend somebody, I would recommend somebody that I've kind of known for a while.
So when you say they, is that the rapper and his partner?
Yes, I believe they were asking me because maybe they just picked up the energy from me, or I just maybe assumed that maybe they had already got an inclination that me and Sean had been doing kind of similar things. So
this is December 20th. To orient ourselves, it's about a month after Cassie's lawsuit, right?
yes,
And you text him. You only reach out to me because maybe you had a second while you're waiting for someone else to come over. You see how you just go ghost after opening up conversation, right?
yes,
And he asks you, can you please take some serious quiet time to read everything I said? I poured my heart and truth out here. Take your time. I pray for us because I know we are connected. I want our friendship to last a lifetime. Coming to an emotional understanding would mean everything to our friendship. Thank you. I love you, right?
yes.
And was it around this time that he was telling you that you never told him and he wasn't aware of how you were feeling?
Yes.
And were you guys having conversations about how you were feeling and what he knew around the time?
Yes, we were more vocal here around the end.
Would this be over the phone or over FaceTime or on text? How would you...
I would say over the phone. If it would get intense, like he would rush off or I would start crying, or it was really hard around this time to really get out how I was feeling mixed with everything. This was a really emotional time frame for us, for sure.
And can you explain by what you mean by we'd get really intense?
I think because this was when our relationship really started to deteriorate. Like, I think that I had just really hit my wall here. I was a mix of emotions of just depression, my resent for the relationship, and then coming to find out that, another woman had these same experiences that I never knew about. So it was just like a lot to wrap my head around. And then I was really spewing out a lot of that energy to him while he was under fire for a lot of other things. So it's like we were both just emotionally down and like just in a constant pulling battle, but like with still love there and still pain with like resentment and trying to be there for one another. But also everything was just hard around this time, very, very hard.
This was a hard month for you because you had just broken up with him at the end of October, and then Cassie's lawsuit came out, right?
Yes.
And this was a hard time for him because he was in the eye of a, for lack of a better term, media firestorm, right?
Yes.
And so you wanted to process your own feelings, right?
Yes.
While simultaneously trying to be there for him during this unprecedented time in his life, right?
I felt we were equally pulled in our own like emotional battlefield, like every which way.
You testified on direct examination with Ms. Comey that at the time he had told you that you had never told him, or he was not aware of how you were feeling, right?
Right.
And that it wasn't until after Ms. Comey and other members of the government team showed you many messages that you realized something different, right?
Right.
So at this time, at approximately December of 2023, he had indicated to you he was not aware of how you were feeling, right?
That's right.
Okay. And would he tell you that he was sorry that you felt this way?
Yes, he would.
And that he didn't want you to feel this way anymore?
Yes, he would say that.
Can you read us what you wrote here, please?
I said, I know what you want, baby, but not really in the mood for that part.
What were you referring to?
I was referring to his kind of hints about having an entertainment night.
And then what did you say in the next text?
Don't want to make you mad.
And how did Sean respond?
He said, all good.
Can we zoom in on that message? What's the date and time of that message?
He writes it on June 19th, 2022 at 2:37 a.m.
Jane, is this the same date as the text we were just looking at?
Yes.
And is this just about an hour and a half later?
Yes.
And does this appear to be a text from Sean to Paul?
Yes.
Could you read what Sean texted Paul about an hour and a half after the messages we just looked at?
He said, "I'm going to need you to persuade her. Call me in 5 minutes and tell her we've been holding it since last week. If she hears from you, we in."
Before this very moment, did you know that Sean had sent this text to Paul saying, "I'm going to need you to persuade her"?
I've never seen these messages.
Jane, how often in your relationship did Sean push you to have a hotel night after you told him or indicated to him that you did not want one?
All the time.
Jane, do you remember being asked on cross-examination about the loving messages that you sent to Sean after the trip you took in March of 2023 to Turks and Miami?
Yes.
Before you went on that trip, what did you expect it would be?
Just a makeup trip for my birthday. Just us two.
What did the trip end up being?
It ended up being a hotel night with Dawn, and then a Turks trip with Paul.
During that trip, did you send texts to Paul expressing frustration with how it turned out?
Yes.
Would you read what you wrote, please?
I said, "Thanks again for coming over last night. It had been 24 hours with no breaks for me, and at first I was going with the flow for the second link up. But I had warned him that I just felt overwhelmed to overperform along with every other night before. I said, I'm not a robot, just a mix of tired, hungry, sleepy, sore.
Jane, can you read the bottom left text here?
I say, and then to insult me 3 times about my bracelet and demeaning its value to me just crushed me. He's never talked disrespectfully to me in front of anyone before. The more he kept telling me about the bracelet and trying to get me to perform and have a good attitude because he bought me this bracelet just devalued and robbed me completely of its loving sentiment. And that completely crushed me.
Can you read the next 2 texts you sent to Paul, please?
I said, in that moment, he just didn't even make me feel like a human being in that room. And I felt completely like a whore. Things weren't going as planned in his mind and as fast as he wanted. I'm not a trained actress porn star. Myself discovering my own sexuality every time we all meet or take a long-ass time to get in the mood. But also, what do you expect from a woman after 24 hours of drugs and non-stop performance?
Jane, if that trip was so disappointing, then why did you send loving messages to Sean after you got home thanking him for it?
When I got home, we spent some time together and in Miami, and then I think this is when the love contract comes in. I don't even know. But he's just so good at showering me with love and affection with all the sexual exploitation in between. And then showering me with love and affection and all the sex and violating exploitation in between. It's just so confusing. And whenever I would send Sean loving messages, I was just able to, compartmentalize all the bad stuff and put it to the side. And all the loving messages are just me focusing on the good parts of this.
Do you remember being asked several questions on cross-examination about your text messages with Cabrale?
Yes.
Whenever you sent a sexual message to Cabrale, who were you with?
Sean.
Whenever you asked for nude images from Cabrale, who were you with?
Sean.
And do you remember being asked about texting Cabrale in connection with your birthday in 2022?
Yes.
Do you remember who you were with when you sent those text messages?
Sean.
Did you ever want to have sex with Cabrale?
No.
Then why did you text him saying you had a mind-blowing experience with him?
Just to make him feel good.
Why did you want to make him feel good?
Because I didn't want him to feel used.
Jane, did you derive physical pleasure from sex with entertainers during hotel nights?
No.
Did you pretend to?
Yes.
Why?
I was putting on a show.
For who?
Sean.
Jane, did you orgasm during sex with entertainers during hotel nights?
No.
Did you fake orgasms with entertainers?
Yes.
Why?
Because I was putting on a show.
For who?
Sean.
And do you remember testifying that Sean would become like a different person when he took ecstasy?
Yes.
When Sean took drugs during hotel nights, were there times when you gave him subtle cues that you were tired and wanted to stop?
Yes,
Can you remind us what some of those were?
I would lay on the bed. I would try to lean my head on his shoulder. I would say that I'm hungry. I would say that my stomach hurt. Or I would just, I don't know, like make little faces or kind of sigh and just hope that he'd take the lead to end the night.
On those occasions when Sean had taken drugs and you gave those subtle cues, how did Sean respond each time?
He would say, "Are you getting tired on me?" "You're not getting tired on me, are you? Let's end on a high note. Just push through. One more round."
Whenever you made those subtle cues, can you remember any time that Sean did not respond in one of the ways that you just described?
Objection.
That's overruled.
I can't.
Jane, what's the date of these texts?
This is October 16th, 2023.
What did you write to Sean the day before you went to that concert and then the sobriety party?
I said, "I don't want to be and mistreated. I don't feel like performing loveless, cold sex."
Let's read the next two texts you sent him on that same day, please.
I said, "I'm not a porn star. I'm not an animal. I need a break. I don't want to do anything. I've hit a wall."
Let's read the next two texts you sent him, please.
I said, "It's been 3 years of me having to strangers. I'm tired."
What's the next text you sent him?
I said, "My spirit and my soul is tired. I need a break mentally and spiritually."
Let's read the next 3 messages you sent him, please.
I said, "Sex is sacred to me and I can't be used like this anymore. I just wanted to make you happy, but it's creating a war inside me. I need a break. I can't be in another hotel room doing drugs and performing, exhausted for days and can't concentrate."
And would you please read the next message you sent?
I said, "It's loveless for me and nothing satisfies you. And you always push me to do more and more."
Did Sean push you to do more and more on the sobriety party night?
Yes,
What happened between the second and third man on the sobriety party?
I threw up.
How did Sean respond when you threw up?
He just encouraged me to go back out.
Go back out and do what, Jane?
Have sex with another man.
Do you remember you were talking about whether Sean knew that you wanted to stop doing hotel nights? Do you remember that on cross-examination?
Yes,
And do you remember you were starting to explain your understanding of what Sean knew at that time, and Miss Garagos interrupted you? Do you remember that?
yes.
What were you going to say?
I was going to say, but I have been telling him. I have been telling him since 2021 that I wanted to stop.
Jane, do you remember being asked on cross-examination about whether Sean was vulnerable with you during hotel nights?
Yes,
Was Sean vulnerable with you when he forced you to perform oral sex on Antoine on June 18th?
no,
Do you remember being asked on cross-examination about how Sean was more loving to you after Cassie's lawsuit was filed?
yes,
Was he loving to you at all after the violence started on June 18th, 2024?
no,
Do you remember being asked on cross-examination about how Sean offered you ecstasy during hotel nights?
yes.
What did Sean say to you when he held an ecstasy pill out to you on that night of June 18th into 19th, 2024?
He said, "Take this pill because you're not going to ruin my night." And then he says this is coercion.
What did you say to him that night about whether you wanted to have sex of any kind with Antoine?
I said I don't want to. I don't want to.
Did you say that once or more than once?
More than once.
How did Sean respond when you told him I don't want to?
You'd better get the out there. You're not going to ruin my night. Go him. Go do something.
How long before he said that had he kicked down 4 of the doors in your home?
Couple hours later.
How long before he said That had he kicked you to the ground when you tried to leave your home.
Objection.
Overruled.
A couple hours before.
How long before he said that had he put you in a chokehold and lifted you off the ground by your neck?
Objection.
Sustained.
Jane, at the time Sean said that, what injuries did you have on your body?
I had a bruise behind my leg. I had a black eye forming, and I had balls, 3-size balls on the forehead topping my head.
What injuries did Sean have?
None.
Jane, were you physically capable of stopping Sean from leaving your home that night?
Objection.
That's sustained. It needs to be rephrased.
Jane, how do you compare in strength to Sean?
I don't.
What were you saying to Sean as he followed you through the house on June 18th, 2024?
I was saying, leave me alone. I hate you. Just leave. Just leave.
And what did Sean do each time you locked a door between you and him?
He kicked every door that I was behind.
When he kicked it, what damage did it cause to the doors?
It broke them.
Can you explain to us, using your arms and your hands, how Sean actually put you into that chokehold?
I remember he came up behind me and just squeezed my neck in between his arms. And I just remember just grabbing his arm, and I couldn't even touch my neck. It was so tight. And I was on my tippy toes, and I thought I was going to pass out.
Jane, do you remember being asked on cross-examination about when Sean slapped you in the shower?
Yes,
What were you saying to Sean in the shower?
I was calling him a bitch. I was calling him a pedophile. I was calling him a monster.
Were you trying to get him to hit you?
No,
Did you want him to hit you?
no.
How hard did he hit you?
So hard.
What happened when he hit you?
I fell eventually.
To the ground?
Yes,
Jane, do you remember being asked on cross-examination about text messages that you and Sean exchanged after June 18th and 19th of 2024?
yes,
Do you remember being shown a text message where Sean referenced that he just wanted to get out safe?
yes,
Did you understand he was referring to June 18th and 19th, 2024?
yes,
Jane, when you locked yourself behind your bedroom door, could Sean have left safely?
yes,
When you locked yourself behind your closet door, could Sean have left safely?
yes,
When you locked yourself behind your bathroom door, could Sean have left safely?
yes,
When you locked yourself behind your guest bedroom door, could Sean have left safely?
yes,
When you tried to run out and he kicked you and then put you in a chokehold, could Sean have left safely?
yes,
When you hid for 2 hours away from your home, could Sean have left safely?
Objection. Argumentative.
Overruled.
yes.
Jane, did you want to have sex with Antoine that night?
No,
Who told you to have sex with Antoine that night?
Sean.
Jane, do you remember being asked on cross-examination about meeting with prosecutors?
Yes,
Throughout all of your meetings with prosecutors, what have prosecutors asked you to do in this trial?
tell the truth.
Do you remember being asked on cross-examination about the gifts and the money that Sean gave you during your relationship?
Yes,
Would you give all of that back if it meant you never had to have sex with another man during your relationship with Sean?
Objection.
Overruled.
yes,
Do you have any financial stake in the outcome of this trial?
none.
Are you expecting to get any money at all from testifying in this trial?
No,
Why are you testifying here?
because I was subpoenaed and I'm here.